Here is the high-octane English version of the script, tailored for a deep-dive documentary or a viral video essay. If you can't destroy it, you can't control the internet. Before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that like button and drop a resilient in the comments, because today we're talking about the most hardcore, defiant, and adrenaline-pumping war in the history of the internet. 3 Swedish tech geeks versus the combined might of Hollywood and the US government. They were raided by 53 armed police officers. Their servers were ripped out, their hardware confiscated, and the founders were placed on global wanted lists. Normally, this is where the story ends, right? But incredibly, just 72 hours later, the iconic pirate ship flag was flying again, and this time it was firing cannons back at Hollywood. How did they do it? Why did a single website become an immortal monster in the face of law and heavy fire? Today, from the perspective of an observer who lived through this history, I'm breaking down the mystery of the Pirate Bay's immortality. Bookmark this one. This is the ultimate breakdown of power and defiance in the digital age. The prologue. 2006, the morning Swedish police became a global laughingstock. May 31, 2006, 5:47 a.m. In the quiet Stockholm suburb of Bredäng, the silence was shattered by the sound of heavy boots. 53 police officers, armed with search warrants, stormed the data center. Their target was singular, the primary servers of the Pirate Bay. In the eyes of Hollywood moguls, this was a tumor bleeding them of $30 billion every year. The scene was cinematic. Police acted like a frantic moving company, yanking out bundles of network cables and wheeling heavy metal racks onto trucks. By 11 a.m., Swedish prosecutors held a victory press conference. Breaking news scrolled across every screen. The world's largest piracy empire has been dismantled. Hollywood executives were popping champagne. They thought they had finally reclaimed the order of the internet. But then came the God move. While the police were still cataloging expensive hardware in an evidence locker, just 3 days later, exactly 72 hours later, the Pirate Bay wasn't just back, it was identical. The only difference? The classic pirate ship logo now featured cannons firing directly at the Hollywood sign. This wasn't just a slap in the face, it was a total reality check. The world was stunned. The physical servers were literally under lock and key at the police station. How did the site resurrect? The mad geniuses. Digital immortality born under a bed. To understand this miracle, we have to talk about the brain behind the screen, Gottfrid Svartholm, alias Anakata. In 2001, Gottfrid was only 19. He looked like your typical peak performance geek, messy hair, dark circles from all-nighters. He assembled a server under his bed using jerry-rigged cables. That was the embryo of the Pirate Bay. He teamed up with 2 others, Peter, the PR face, and Frederick, the sysadmin, to form an anti-copyright collective called Pirate Bureau. Their logic was brutally simple. Culture should flow freely. Knowledge should have no gatekeepers.
They did 2 things right that gave the Pirate Bay immortal DNA from day one. 1. Leave no trace, PRQ hosting. They thought external hosting companies were too soft, folding the moment a lawyer sent a letter. So they started their own company called PRQ. Their slogan? We host anything. We keep 0 logs. This meant even if police seized the hardware, they would find 0 evidence of who was downloading what. At the time, it was a black hole in the legal defense line. 2. The profits of decentralization. Gottfrid wrote a custom code called Hypercube. He realized if you treat a website like a centralized building, it can be bombed. But if you treat it like the ocean, how can you bomb the water? He modularized the core code. During the 2006 raid, the police only took the shells running the program. The true soul, the database, had already been encrypted and sent across the border to backup servers in Amsterdam. 3. The fiercest reply, giving Hollywood lawyers a heart attack. What fascinated fans about the Pirate Bay wasn't just the content, it was their "I love that you hate me and can't do anything about it" attitude. In 2004, DreamWorks attorneys sent a cease and desist demanding the removal of Shrek 2. Most people would have panicked. Gottfrid's response? Sweden is not a state in the United States of America. For your information, no Swedish law is being violated. It is the opinion of us and our lawyers that you are morons. He ended by suggesting the lawyers perform an anatomically creative act with a retractable baton. Then he posted the entire exchange on the homepage. The result? Traffic tripled. Every legal threat became a free advertisement. 25 million users flocked in. To them, this was the Robin Hood of the digital age. 4. The 2009 Spectre trial, a philosophical war destined to fail. When physical force failed, the gears of power turned to the law. In 2009, the 3 founders stood in the dock at the Stockholm District Court. It didn't feel like a trial, it felt like a hacker convention. Peter live-tweeted the entire thing. Gottfrid spent his time schooling the judge on what BitTorrent actually was, mocking the prosecutor for having zero grasp of basic networking. The defense's logic was rock solid. The Pirate Bay doesn't store copyrighted files, it's an index. You don't shut down Google just because someone uses it to find contraband. But we know the outcome. Under massive political pressure from the US, the judge sentenced them to a year in prison and $3 million in damages. The audience thought this was the end. Instead, the site evolved again. To prevent domain seizures, the Pirate Bay abandoned torrent files entirely and embraced magnet links. This was a game changer. A torrent is a file, physical evidence. A magnet link is just a string of text, a hash. You cannot confiscate a mathematical formula. They even compressed the entire site's database into a 90-megabyte file. This meant anyone with a thumb drive could rebuild the entire Pirate Bay on their own laptop in seconds.
The final gambit: exile, prison, and the eternal ship. The second half of the story gets dark. Gottfrid vanished. He didn't turn himself in, he disappeared into the jungles of Cambodia. He lived in a cheap apartment in Phnom Penh, using encrypted tunnels to manage the site from the shadows. It wasn't until 2012 that he was caught, surrounded by energy drink cans and takeout boxes. Then, Swedish and Danish authorities hit him with even heavier charges: